Welcome to Stream, a trucktractortrailer.com production. My name is Zach Miller, and I'm your host, and I'm honored to be joined today by Chris Jolly, who is the freight coach. Chris, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Zach, thank you for the opportunity to join your guys' platform and talk about an industry that we are both very passionate about.
Absolutely. And that's why I love talking about two people who are so passionate about trucking and transportation, but I especially love talking to people like me who grew up in this business, in this field, who have the intimate understanding of it that a lot of people, well-intended though they may be, don't quite have.
Yeah, I guess a little bit about myself. I'll kind of segue into that. I come from a family of truck drivers. So, like, my great grandparents owned a trucking company out of Iowa in the 30s, I believe, 30s and 40s. And my dad was an owner operator for 40 years. So, it's like my first actual job was washing his semi and really cleaning the tires on his truck. And I started that at a very young age. And, and that's where honestly, like the whole the importance of hard work kind of came into my life early on. Was, I remember there was times where he's like, "Hey, I need you to go wash my truck." I'm like, "It looks like it's going to rain." And his response was, "I didn't ask you for a weather report. I said to go wash my truck." And it's kind of like, all right. But I grew up in this industry. I've been around it for ever since I was born. And I loaded trucks in college, and then I got into freight brokerage, and I was a broker for about 10 years. And it was, everybody's got this story now. It's like, hey, March of 2020 rolled around, and but it honestly opened up such a unique opportunity for myself, because what I do now is I get to encompass every aspect of this industry that I love, and I get to educate people and train sales and operate customer sales and carrier sales reps. Even on the trucking company side as well, because I have some of my clients are trucking companies, and I just work with them on the sales process and everything that we face when we're out here trying to build up our book of business. So that's the primary focus of my company. That's my niche. I'm not a sales coach across the board. I know trucking, and that's where I'm staying. So
Absolutely. But, you talk about March 2020. This is a hard lesson that a lot of Americans had to learn is that trucking hits every aspect of the U.S. economy. If trucks aren't moving, the economy shuts down. And thankfully, our truck drivers all across this nation, about 3.6 million of them, did heroic work over they always do heroic work.
Yes.
But people actually finally started to see that and see how important trucking is. And then, I guess in terms of what you do, have you seen an increased interest in people trying to enter this field?
I'm going to be completely honest, Zach. I think as an industry, we need to do a lot better job of getting the message out there, because there are, the blue collar industry is, everybody knows they're the backbone of our economy. Everybody knows that nothing is done unless it starts. Like, I get it, from a white collar perspective, the financing and everything comes first. But the first brick is laid by the blue collar industry, and the last light bulb is installed by the blue collar industry before stuff goes to market. And they don't get the attention they deserve. I'm a big sports guy, so I always say it like this: the blue collar industry is the offensive line in football. They take a ton of beating, get none of the recognition, but the people who are out there, the decision makers, they know who the real hard workers are in this country. And it's like, I'm blue collar to the core, man. At the end of the day, everybody I know, all the people that I like, they're all in the blue collar industry. And the thing is it's like, people don't realize how much money you can actually make.
Yes.
Doing this. You can be an electrician and be a multimillionaire, you know?
Absolutely. These are, one of the big things is we need to even change the way we refer to them. They're not jobs, they're careers.
Correct. They're entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're all of that.
Exactly. And you build a great lifestyle for yourself, for your family. You get to have such a level of freedom. And another big thing is you're not saddled with debt. I mean, to leave a 4-year college right now, even state schools, you're in debt, and private schools, forget about it. You're never getting out from under that.
It's an extremely uphill battle. I mean, I know that because I had to do and I went to a state school. Like, I didn't go to a private school. I couldn't afford it. I had to go the tech school route. I went the 2-year trade school. I got my associates in management, and then I went to a state school and got my bachelor's degree in management. And there's a lot of people out there. And like, that's what I loved about doing the 2-year school is all of my instructors were in the business world. They were all active in it. This was like their way of giving back to that blue collar community. And I think that, you know, from a driver's perspective though, and this is one thing that I stress to everybody who I speak to, if you want to curb this driver shortage or whatever you want to call it, there's been, to be honest with you, Zach, there's been a driver shortage every year that I've been in this industry.
I know.
But we need to stop thinking of the driver as what we did back in the 70s and 80s when my dad was driving. We need to now, like, these 21 to 25-year-olds, what do they like? How do we market that to them? The sleepers and trucks now have every capability of a New York City. I mean, you live in New York City. They have more capabilities than a New York City apartment, for God's sakes, you know?
Oh, without a doubt. In fact, I might have to upgrade to a sleeper because having, you know, been living in this apartment, you know, spending all my days in this apartment the last year, it's a bit rough. I think it might be time for a change of scenery.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Zach. So it's like we need to do that as an industry. We need to market to that demographic of people, because like there are plenty of 21 to 25-year-olds. And I think if 2020 taught us anything, there are a lot of people who want that quote unquote nomad lifestyle where they don't need to be, you know, they're out there traveling anyways. Instead of having them drive around in a van, let's find those individuals to drive a truck and let them know, like, hey, you can be your social media influencer from the cab of your truck, and you can explore the world, not the world, but the continental United States.
Yep. And you're making great money
correct
doing what you love. I mean, that's one of the things people love to say, you know, like, oh, well, if money didn't matter, I'd be a travel writer. You know, what a great job a travel writer would be. And to your point, you know, Instagram influencers, it's like, well, cool thing about trucking, you could actually do that and get paid more than you could possibly imagine to serve this necessary function for the US economy and live your glorious lifestyle. It's a win for everybody.
And that's exactly it, is because especially in our space, you know, like the term influencer is new to trucking. So it's like there is such a market share for some group of individuals who want to come in and establish themselves as an influencer, whatever you want to call them, to put content out there and document that. And that is what's going to attract these younger demographic of individuals into our space. And not just on the driver's side, you know, you could say even on the warehousing side, the broker sides, we need to do a better job to attract more talent in here. And why not document it? Like, that's one of my biggest things is I post constant content all the time on the reality of transportation. And I want to have, like, my whole thing is I just want that real side of freight. I don't want the corporate message being put out there, how it's easy. No, it's not easy.
It's not easy
at all. And that's the reality piece that I bring to the table in it. And like, I still say this all the time, Zach, there is such a need for more content. We need more content because social media is not the future. It's the reality, and it's only going to expand. So why not take advantage of that?
Absolutely. And it's, the timing is so ripe for it. And it's one of the things about trucking that it really is this sort of analog industry, and we need to bring it into the digital world.
I agree. And that's, you know, that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of exciting tools that are coming to market. There's a lot. I mean, as soon as the VC money starts pouring in, you know, something cool is about to happen. And that, you know, that's where we're at, is we're like 3 years into that. Cause it was about 2017 is when the VC money really started pumping into freight. And now the tools that are being rolled out now are a couple of years in the making, and now it's only going to improve. And it's like, what's crazy to me is the pushback that you receive in this industry from a technology standpoint. Like, we all live on our cell phone 24/7. Like, I could go on Amazon right now and have a book delivered to me in 2 hours, but I don't want to have my electronic BOL a thing. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. And every time you come up with some sort of new piece of technology, be it for safety, be it for efficiency, whatever it is, there's always that initial push. It's just like, it's just so reactive instead of being proactive. And it's just like, the time is here to be proactive. We need it now.
Yeah, we do. Because there's so many, it's like it's almost like there's a perfect storm brewing in our industry right now with a lot of things. And, you know, first and foremost, I know truck parking is a massive thing. I mean, I think I forget what state it was, but there's a pretty big lawsuit out there about a driver who was fined for parking somewhere, and they didn't find adequate, like the company couldn't find it. And it's like, I think the driver got injured. It's like, who's at fault in that scenario? So there's a lot of things that are coming to light right now. And this is, unfortunately, the industry is a victim of its own success. We do not, like, it was when people are making money, nobody thinks about the alternatives, and now we're at a point where information is plentiful. There's so, like, complaints now are amplified because there's
Yes.
some of these trucker groups on Facebook that have 75, 80,000 drivers associated with them. I mean, if you're a shipper or a receiver out there, you should be worried if you have if your operation isn't tip top, because that's 80,000 drivers who see that. And then they tell 80,000
Yeah.
drivers, and then so on and so forth.
And that's just one aspect of it. Another aspect is there are super large groups spreading information who hate truckers and hate trucking, and that gets out there. And then, like you say, with the truck parking, so it's so easy for somebody to find a picture of a truck parked where it shouldn't be. Exactly like you say, they couldn't find safe truck parking. Their hours of service are up. We in the industry know the issues, but these people don't. The politicians don't. And all of a sudden, you have a viral picture of a poor truck driver parked on the side of a highway. All of a sudden, this becomes some sort of local public safety crisis.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly, man. And I remember that, as a kid riding with my dad. Truck stops are full, and this is the days of paper logs where you can take that for what it's worth, but you weren't as closely monitored by certain devices. And as the thing is, it's like, truck stops are full. Where do you go? You go to the nearest side of the road, and that's it. Is that safe? Is that adequate rest for the drivers? And that's the thing, is it's like, it's something as simple as that. A quiet night of sleep where a driver can actually decompress. Because anybody out there who's listening to this, if you've never been in the cab of a truck and you're in this industry, I challenge every single one of you to find a local trucking company who allows ride-alongs and ride along with the driver. See what they go through. See the stresses of this. And that's one thing that I forgot about at times as a freight broker. I'm in my office. I don't think about LA traffic or anything like that. And when you do that, then you start realizing, like, all right, these individuals need a lot more support than what, I mean, I know Truck Driver Appreciation Week's got to be coming up here pretty soon. If it's
September.
not already.
Yeah, September.
Yeah. So, we're going to see all those fictitious posts of everybody supporting truck drivers again, just for a couple of vanity metrics and some likes out there, but nobody out there. Well, I can't say nobody, but there are very few companies who are out there trying to actually fight for the well-being of the driver, and that is what needs to happen. It's got to be a 24/7, 365 thing, because there are a lot of, and it starts with the infrastructure of our country.
Yeah.
There isn't adequate parking for trucks out there. And what are we going to do about that? And then it's like, from a trucking company standpoint, if I owned a fleet of 4,000 trucks,
yeah.
I mean, every trucking company has a target on their back right now. Everybody can Google nuclear verdicts and see what's going on. So it's like, what can we do to help combat a lot of this stuff? And it's like, you throw that in there. Driver's he's not resting properly. He's not sleeping properly, whatever it is. He does, your reaction time's a little bit less, and that half a second can save lives.
Absolutely, it can. Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the nuclear verdicts. I think we'll probably have you come on at another point to talk about that in full, because that is a whole topic. But the general point of there's that dichotomy of, right, it's just like, we need to get people in the industry. The training is not crazy expensive. You could go do it, you could bootstrap your way up. And then on the other side, there are these issues that you can't even think of about insurance and, the cost of insurance, the verdicts, the endorsements. It's just like, how many impediments to success are we really going to put in front of these people? And then put our hands up and say, well, how come we can't recruit? How come we can't attract people into this industry?
No, I agree with that. And I'm about regulation to a point. I'm not about over regulation. I think everybody's into that can get behind responsible regulation.
Yes.
Like, yes, we do need a certain set of guidelines. We do need a barrier to entry. We do need all of that. But I think, though, some of these large trucking companies out there, like, you can get in the door. They do the training on site. They have everything there. And, and I think, like, that, what a great opportunity for so many individuals to get in and learn this industry while, as somebody, I own my own business. How great would it be to sit behind the wheel of somebody else's equipment to learn the ins and out of it, and then go and buy your own truck and become an owner operator. And, there's so many great opportunities out there for entrepreneurs to get into this space, because not everybody's going to be a reality TV star. Not everybody's going to be a white collar, the next app. You're not going to create that and be a billionaire. Not everybody's going to have that route, but you can make a significant living in this industry, a lot more than people think.
Uh-huh.
And if you come in and do this right from day one, you get the right financing in place, or however that looks, and you get the right consistent freight. You have a couple of good broker partners out there, and you have a good, maybe you find your own customers at that point, and you have that consistency, because that's the biggest key in this industry is consistency. As my dad always used to say, Zach, we're not earning unless our wheels are turning. And that's where you can kind of build that up, and you can build a successful business off of that. And you know what? Not everybody's going to want to be the next JB Hunt or Swift out there and have 25,000 power units. They can create a 10 truck operation that makes them more money than they probably ever thought was humanly possible. I'm from small town America. I didn't know what six figures was when I was a kid, so it's like you can make a very significant living where you don't have the corporate setting that you want, or that is like, that's what's advertised.
Yep. It's amazing. A couple of trucks, you have some warehouse capability, and you are set. You have a beautiful business going that you could pass through to your children and your grandchildren even. It really is remarkable. It's it's just, one last point about that, because in my neck of the woods we see it all the time. It's taxation via regulation, and that's the issue. Regulation for safety, awesome. Regulation for taxation, horrendous.
Correct.
So Chris, if people want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, I'm very heavily on social media. Like, I'm all about social media, you guys. That's where you're going to find me. I'm on LinkedIn. It's just Chris Jolly on there. If you just search the Freight Coach, my stuff will come up. I have a podcast it's on iTunes and Spotify, and it's on the transportation industry. It's not broker centric. It's not sales centric. It's everything freight. And I want to bring, the platform that I'm building out is just that landing spot for anybody who's like, hey, you know what I'm interested about this industry. They get the reality of it from people who are actually in the industry, and not an outside source who's, Googled what a truck was and they're trying to put together some content on it. And then I'm also on Instagram as at the Freight Coach.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Zach.
You guys are listening to Stream. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next time.